So the big question is this: how are real estate investors just like us, whether they're a beginner or they've been in this game for years, who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base? How do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. This is the Real Estate Underground show number 2.
Hello, Real Estate CT REIA family. It's Ed Matthews and Rich Brown. We are here with the one, the only Melissa Shea of, let's see, should I list all the things you do for a living? Long Island Real Estate, Everyday Funding. I'm going to let you do it because I actually don't know the list. And you have, 97 kids on top of it?
Yeah, about that. 97, yeah, feels like, yeah.
So welcome. And it's always good to see you. Thanks for your time today.
Very cool. Yeah. For those that don't know me, I want to say hello and a shout out to you all. CT REIA and Long Island REIA have had a very long relationship, about 12, 14 years. I have a lot of respect for each other and the education. I think that's what attracted me so much to you guys. I had a good relationship with Linda and Joanne because they really cared about giving good quality education to their members and servicing their members. And the new crew that came in, all of you guys, Ed, Ron, Rich, and Mark, have continued that and actually expanded on it. So I've always appreciated that. I'm the president of the Long Island Real Estate Investors Association. I'm a commercial lender in 50 states in the United States. I've syndicated over $50 million worth of real estate. That means I've raised that much capital to purchase properties. I had a portfolio of about 360 units. I've since sold my apartment buildings and we have about 125. And I'm a licensed broker in Connecticut and Long Island. And I also have the exit realty rights for all of Connecticut and Rhode Island. So that's pretty much my resume there. And yes, I'm a mom of 8 kids. So that has been a bit of a challenge.
Yes.
To do all that. But yeah, I'm just passionate about real estate. That's what it really comes down to. I love all facets of it. And I really love teaching and educating other people. If I had to put a mission to my life, I would call it empowering, educating families for financial independence through real estate. And that's been my joy for the last 10 years.
Yeah, for as long as I think I've known you, at least, right? I mean, you've been doing this for a while. I'm curious, how did you get the real estate?
I was 5, no.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you were 14 when I met you, but
yeah. Sorry about that. What was the question?
No, it's okay. So how did you get into real estate? What drew you to this business?
So it's kind of interesting. It was a little bit of a dare from my ex-husband that I couldn't do it. So game on right there. But it was actually September 11th when the towers fell. I owned a travel agency. I was very successful in my travel agency. I thought it was great, but I had over 60 people left in the air that day. And bringing them home to their families for those 3 days was just heart-wrenching for me. And while I'm doing it, I wasn't thinking about how my business was collapsing at the time. I was just thinking, get these families home. And it took 3 weeks to get them home because they were in Europe. And what it taught me was how vulnerable my business was. I didn't have any diversification. I had no passive income. For a year and a half, I struggled to come back because we're in New York. September 11th happened. And then a month later, I had passengers on the American Airlines flight that crashed.
800? Really?
Rockaway, yeah. And that was only 30 days after the towers collapsed. It was like a double whammy to my business. And it crippled me at the time. And then I actually just was smart enough to buy up 3 other travel agencies. And then I came back stronger in 2003. But I never forgot how vulnerable. You think like you own your own business, I'm in control, but that wasn't it. You had to have real estate. And I saw that the towers came back. There was insurance for the building. There were some securities in place with that. So then that's what made me look at it. I watched an infomercial of Carlton Sheets. I know I'm dating myself. Yeah, right?
No. I no money down. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I bought it.
Oh, yeah. And I bought it because somebody said I couldn't do it. My ex-husband said, I bet you can't do real estate. I'm like, oh, that's my game now, So I bought it. I really excelled in that program to the point where I became his millionaire elite class. And he flew me out to California, Carlsbad. I met with him. I got a whole bunch of awards and everything. And then the second year, he flew me out to Naples and I met with him again. And then I just kept having kids and I couldn't fly as much. But yeah, he was a great man, great mentor, teacher. And I never looked back. He taught me the aha of making a win-win-win. Like, don't ever do a deal unless everybody benefits. If you can't find where everybody benefits, don't do the deal. And that's probably the best advice I ever got. Plus, he did teach me the no money down, the OPM, the magic of using other people's money. So
absolutely.
But that's how I got started. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So let's focus. I know we have an event coming up, CT REIA and Long Island Real Estate and Exit Realty and a whole bunch of other companies are coming together to do an event. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what your vision is for that?
Sure. So if you're listening, we'd love to invite you. We're having sponsors pay for the event, so you don't have to pay a ticket price. But CT REIA and Exit Realty, which is what I work with in Connecticut and Rhode Island, I think it shares that same vision of giving people financial independence through real estate, right?
Yep.
And I love what Exit teaches in the sense of there's residuals, and just like real estate has. So we have passive income. Getting out of the rat race is a big thing. So if you're interested in getting out of the rat race, most agents I see are working in their 70s and 80s. And that's horrible. They're not doing it because they want to. They're doing it because they have to. Right. Because as agents, they are independent contractors, their own business. But they never learned how to run it like a business. So the topic is the future of real estate in 2022. What's the trends that's going to set you apart when COVID ends? We were extremely lucky the last 18 months or whatever, however long we've been in this wormhole of COVID. Real estate prices just shot up. Like, nobody expected that. I really thought it would go down, and it did for like 2 months, right? And then scarcity, boom, drove the market insane. But what's going to happen in 2022? Is it going to come down? Is there margins? We've got some ridiculous amount of homes in foreclosure, which ironically, a lot of them are in Connecticut. A lot of them are in Connecticut. So that's one of the top 10 states of the highest people in foreclosure. Now, that doesn't mean that modifications won't come into play and stuff like that. But what's the trends and where can you make money in 2022? So that's the topic of December's event. We're going to hear it from Tammy Bunnell, who happens to be CEO and chairman of Exit Realty International. I've come to really respect her and what she's done for empowering women more specifically, but she's got a really great handle on the trends. CT REIA will be speaking about, from the investor's point of view, what their projections are for 2022. And we'll also look for some what's going to happen to the commercial arena in 2022. So I think it's really worth it to look at. Whether you're an agent or an investor, it's going to be a great event.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we're really excited about it. And thank you for including us.
Yeah, so I'm excited. It's a joint effort. And honestly, anybody should, if this last year and a half didn't teach people how vulnerable, not just us in the United States, but the entire world is financially, they got to get control of it. You know what I mean? How many people got laid off, furloughed, maybe get laid off? If you're going to ever make a change, this is probably the best time in your life to make the change. You know,
they say that the best time to start your own business is during a recession, right? And this doesn't qualify as a recession, but it certainly qualifies as an economic downturn during the pandemic.
Yep.
And IBM was founded in one, Microsoft was founded in one, and there are story after story after story of huge companies being founded during economic uncertainty.
That is so wild. And here's the thing. I think some people want to take the risk and some people have to take a risk, right? Because they have no choice. And so I think that when you have to, it's like the mother of necessity or something like that, they call it. When you're faced with a true obstacle, you've got to figure out how to overcome it. And sometimes the best part of you comes out in worse situations.
It's the motto of burning your ship, or necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. And that's the truth. That's so wild that you said that, Ed, because I'm going to do some more research on some of those companies, because when they were formed, even Airbnb was formed in 2007 during the recession. And look at them now. I mean, even in the downturn, or what you would call COVID they excelled like crazy because who wants to stay in a hotel where you got to wear a mask and do all this stuff and can't have services anymore?
Right.
Airbnb took off. So.
And now that inflation is kicking in, right? Real estate is probably, if not the best, it's top 5 hedges against inflation.
Yeah.
In terms of your own economic well-being.
It's so funny because I keep telling everybody, if you're going to go into debt, like we were talking about student debt before, go into mortgage debt. You know what I mean? Because the debt rate is mind blowing. It's still so cheap. And 30-year fixed rates in commercial loans in 4 and 5%. That's unheard of.
Yep.
Buy as much as you can because, like you said, it's going to hedge against inflation.
Right.
Factor in your ability to lock in those rates and the length of loans that some people are able to lock them in for these days. When rates do rise, you'll be happy you had the rates now.
Yeah.
So true.
It's so true. And it's so hard to convey that to people who are new into the industry because they're still coming over their fear.
Right.
And we've already been on that side. And that's what I think this event's about. It's like, listen to the experts that have been in this industry 15, 20 years who have seen trends. It's like watching the waves come. Like now you know when to jump and when to duck.
Right.
Follow those people. Like, why would you reinvent yourself?
Absolutely. So I'd like to drill into that a little bit. So you talk about taking advantage of opportunity. And so I'm curious, and I admire, you're a force of nature. And I'm always blown away by every news story I hear of what Melissa Shea is doing over on the island, which is why I enjoy, and I come find you whenever we're occupying the same room, because I want to hear all about it. But you've seen a lot, right? I mean, you've had a lot of folks that have come through your offices for funding, for mentorship, and a whole host of other things. From your perspective, what do you think separates the folks that are able to get it going, become entrepreneurs, run their own businesses, become successful, and the folks that kind of fall short? You had mentioned fear, and I totally agree with you on that. But what are some of your thoughts on that?
I think actually it's fear, but the golden handcuffs is probably the worst one of them all because there is no why. When they're making $100,000 a year, very hard to motivate them. Very hard to motivate them because there's no necessity there. They lose that $100,000 job. They're calling me every day, right?
Right.
But the golden handcuffs are probably the worst one because it's a false sense of security. That's really what it is. You are just putting your financial future in somebody else's hands, some corporation, some boss, some whatever, that when push comes to shove, you could easily get laid off. They can not be existent anymore. Credit Suisse, multi-billion-dollar company, just laid off how many people last year?
Right.
Thousands of them. So I think it's more empowering if you take control of yourself. And that comes from having a strong why. The first question I always ask, why do you want to take the mentoring program? Because if your why isn't strong enough, I don't want to spend my time with you. It's the truth.
Right. Because you're not going to follow through when it gets hard. And it always gets hard.
Yep. There's only 3% of the population that actually do real estate investing, own homes other than their primary or secondary homes. That's 3% of the population. That's it. So that's who I'm trying to tap into. When we have our meetings, when I look around, I'm like, wow, how many people are in Connecticut? And yet you got maybe 200, 300 in the room. It's amazing because millionaires are made from this. Millionaires are made from this.
Yeah.
I've literally made millions doing this.
Right.
So Melissa, let me drill down a little bit on what Ed is asking. And you're talking about knowing their why. You're talking about the golden handcuffs. What is it specifically for women? Obviously, you're a woman, you're kicking ass, you're taking names, but by and large, when I walk around, I see men out there bragging about how great their portfolio is doing and how many deals they're closing and this and that. But I don't see women out in front. And then it begs the question, are women not interested in real estate? Are women involved in real estate? As a woman who's kicking butt and taking names, how did you get out front? And what is the role you see for women in real estate?
That's such a great question, Rich. I'm so glad you asked it because there are a lot of women that dabble into this and they think it's a men's game. And yes, there are a lot more men in it than women typically, but I'm seeing the trend change. And when you ask about what motivates women to do this, it's their children and their empowerment to be independent. Those are probably the two things that are most important. Nothing motivated me more, and I was never in more of a financial disaster than in 2007, 2008. I had recently gotten divorced. I had 3 kids. I'm a single mom. I was not looking at my baby and not feeding it and giving it diapers. I mean, that just chokes me up to this day, but I was going to hustle my ass off until I made this a success. And I can look at those 3 babies now. Well, now I've got a lot more, but I knew that real estate was going to put clothes on their back, feed them, and I could do it without anybody else's help. I didn't have to go to my parents or a man or something like that. I did it all on my own in those hardest times of my life. And my divorce was not your typical divorce. You know, I had to go into hiding. My name had to be changed. I was missing for 2 years and I was beaten pretty bad and my life was in jeopardy and so was the children. And real estate pulled me through, really pulled me through. So I had never had more of a why in my life and the determination to make this successful. And I'm very grateful to my ex-husband for what he did for me because I'm a force of nature now, right? As Ed said. Right. So if I didn't have that experience, and I think a lot of women get their back into a wall or their fear is they count on somebody else. And I want people to know that women can do this, even if they have a husband, to make their own portfolio, help contribute to the family that way. And Linda has a great book, Why Women Are Better Real Estate Investors Than Men or something like that. Yep. Why women make really great investors is because when they really tap into that power of why, they're really laser focused, just like we are with our children. We're laser focused. And as to why more women don't come out and tell their accomplishments, I think that's their own insecurities. And I'll speak to myself about that too. By nature, it's always been a man's world. And the one thing I love about real estate is I can make just as much as Ed can. You know what I mean? It's not
You're making more.
Yeah. but if you hustle, like, and I don't mean this like this, but like we have the same opportunities. I just don't sleep. I gave that up. Right. Most people like to. Who could you sleep with 8 kids? It's just never ends. But no, you know, because I got teenagers up till 2 a.m. and babies up at 6. But that was my own crazy design. But I think I think I'd love that women can make as much as a man can in this industry because it's non-discrimination, right? It's just, can you make the deal work or not?
Do you have a brain? Are you motivated? Are you willing to work it? None of those things are gender related.
None. And it has nothing to do with that. It's just how creative can you be with structuring how to put the deal together. And they tell you 10,000 hours and you become a master in your field.
Yep.
And that's what I just did. I wanted to really be good at my craft and I still continue to work on it. There's no resting. That's why you say all the time, Ed, like I'm always learning something new. I'm always reaching higher. When I hit one goal, that means, yay, celebrate for the day. And now I go on to the next one tomorrow.
What's next?
Absolutely. What's next? Yeah, it's always next. And I think when you have that kind of growth, and I think that comes actually inherent to women because we're so used to doing multiple tasks when we have lots of things we have to juggle. So I think that's why we become really good at real estate investors because a lot of moving parts in real estate, a lot of moving parts.
Absolutely.
But I wish they would be more vocal about it. Yeah.
As a follow-up to that, you're president of the Long Island REIA.
Mm-hmm.
It seems as though coaching and mentoring has played a role. Tell us a little bit about, has it played a role? Am I just making an ass out of myself of making a guess here?
No. Honestly, I was telling this story last night. So we had our REIA meeting last night. And if you don't belong to a REIA and you're listening, belong to your local REIAs. CTA REIA obviously is a really great one. But I remember the first time I walked into a REIA, and there have been about 150, 200 maybe people in the room. And I remember walking in and I felt like angels were singing like, oh, these are my people. And I was just a member. People thought like I did. Like when I said I wanted to buy another property, they were like, go get him. Not like, oh, you're going to buy another property, another tenant you're going to deal with. Really want to do that? So I immediately joined the mentoring program that they had at the event. And I was like a sponge. I had to learn it all. And then over the years, but I could only learn so much from her. She actually never bought a piece of real estate in her life. Can you imagine? A mentor other than her primary home. So it was very frustrating for me because by that time I had 18 properties or 19 properties. So I continued to search for someone. And that's why I say CT REIA is good because you guys have an excellent training program. I have literally witnessed lives changed from good mentoring programs. And you guys definitely have a great one. For 10 years, we didn't have one. And I was too timid to teach Can you believe that? I was really too timid.
I don't believe that for a nanosecond.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? It was a really hard mindset. You know how it happened? I had a speaker come in. He took $7,500 to mentor them, took 8 students, took their money and left.
Oh.
And I was devastated because now your reputation as a REIA is on the line. 3 of them didn't care or whatever, or they were able to get their money back somehow. I guess they put a stop on the credit card or whatever. The other 3 couldn't get their money back. And I felt horrible for them. So I was like, listen, I don't have that much time. I'll tell you what, I'll put you 5 together. I'll have 5 paying ones so it'll offset my costs. And I'll mentor you guys. I'll fulfill whatever they said that they were going to do just to keep my members happy. And so I did that. And then I found out I love it. And he wound up buying deals. And so I did another class and another class. And like, what am I, 16 classes later? I just love it. So
that's amazing.
That is a great story.
It just goes to show you why character matters so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Because had you not had that character, you would never have figured out that this is your calling.
That's so true. That's so true. And I really pushed away against it. I'm like, I'm not a good mentor. I can't do this. I looked for everybody to outsource it. And who knew? Right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just felt horrible, but what a joy it's been. And I would say this, Rich, too, because you asked the question, a good mentor will change your life. You'll never be the same because once your mind expands and you have that paradigm shift, you can't go back. You can't unsee real estate investing anymore. You can't unlearn how to put a deal together. So you can only move forward, not backwards. And I think that anybody who's taken your programs and really absorbed it and did it, that's the other catch. You have to listen. But it has changed people's lives.
And that's the thing. Last year during COVID, one of the things we did was we interviewed a handful of real estate investors and said, if you lost it all, if somebody waved a magic wand and took everything from you except your good name and what you know today, what would you do for the next 30 days to get back on your feet? And I figured it was a really hard question to answer, right? But we were meeting with all these people and they were like, here are the 14 things I would do. And I'd be cash flow positive within 45 days. Bang, 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 bang. Once you know how to do it, it's a magic wand. You'll never, ever want for money ever again, right? It's a superpower.
It's so weird you say that, Ed, because when I got divorced, I had 365 or 67 units, something like that. It was over 360 units I had when my divorce happened. And the lawyers were like blood sight. As soon as they saw that on forget it. I was like, they tore up the assets. They put them in, what do they call those? Receiverships. They did receiverships. They put all this stuff in there. And I was like, I knew I was going to lose it all. And I was a little spiteful because I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let my lawyers get this. And I'm not going to let my ex-husband who just beat me get this. So I ran them all into the ground because I was like, you know what? I'm going down anyway. Might as well just accelerate it.
Flame of glory.
Yeah.
All flame.
That was kind of a little joy there. I'm not going to lie. But here's the thing. So now I was truly at zero, right? And it was so amazing how I could put things together. And even my ex-husband said on the stand, he goes, you're not going to stop her. She knows how to make money. If she's going to hide the money, you're never going to find the money. Just let her go. Like, let her do her thing because she's too smart for you guys. And it was so cool because I knew how to do the real estate. I knew how to put it in LLCs. I knew how to put beneficiaries in place. I knew how to do all that stuff because of the years before. And so it was very easy to get back on my feet afterwards. I was
only asking a hypothetical and you're living proof of that. It's possible, right?
I had it all taken away. I even had to file a personal bankruptcy because of everything that had happened. And can't collect rents if you're not even around to collect them. And I'm moving around and all that stuff. Right. And it was interesting. So I had like a 580 score. In 6 months, I had a 720 score and I was buying properties again. Is that crazy?
Amazing.
That's crazy, right?
Right.
But it was real. And I was making about $5,000 a month within 30 days of the filing of the bankruptcy because I knew how to broker deals. So I was making a minimum of $5,000 a month. And I had still a lot of expenses because I still had the 3 kids and some things I had to take care of. And my private lenders, I didn't let them take the hit. I worked out deals with them. So I was still paying them outside the bankruptcy to get them made whole. They were friends and family, so. Yeah.
Again, character matters.
And that was just a hard time in real estate. That was 2007, 8, and 9. This was happening. And I was still making money, and I was still buying properties when you couldn't even get a mortgage.
Buying investment real estate is both thrilling and sometimes stressful. Without a lending expert by your side, most investors don't stand a chance. That's where CT REIA funding comes in. CT REIA funding was founded by investors to help investors just like you fund their deals. Whether you're buying a single-family rehab, an apartment building, or really any investment property, our team will understand your deal and help you close quickly. Go to ctreiafunding.com or call us at 860-876-0572.
There are a lot of people sitting on the sidelines who say things like, the market's too hot, you can't make money in real estate. Or the market's too soft, you can't make money in real estate. Or all the good properties are already purchased. What do you say to those naysayers who say it's too late to invest in real estate?
It is never too late. There's never a wrong time to invest in real estate. It's just the wrong strategy at the wrong time. So It's like a lock, right? So if the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4 to open it, you got to put it in that order. So if you do it as 2, 3, 4, 1, it's not going to work. So you just have to find the magic number that works in that strategy. Buy and hold will always work. As long as you buy it on cash flow, that's your safe place. I go back to Carlton Sheets with Ed and I, right? He always said that. He always said, make sure you're positively cash flowing on a buy and hold. You can't go wrong with that unless you do war-torn areas and things like that. So if you follow the program, right, you can always weather a storm. So even if the market dips, we had this happen, it seems like yesterday, but it's not. It's like 12 years ago, right? 2007, 2008. If you bought at the height of the market in Florida, which I did, and I had a tenant in there that paid the rent and it was break even if it was break even, right now, I'd be positive on everything. Positive cash flow because rents went up in the last 12 years astronomically. We're past 2007 pricing, exceedingly past it.
Right.
So that's why real estate's very forgiving. Of all the things that you can do, real estate is very forgiving. So when you say, oh, it's not the right time, these are excuses. If you want to see that it doesn't work, you'll make it not work. But if you want to see that it works and you're just determined to make it work, it'll work in any environment. Think about this. In 2007, hard money rates were 5 points, 15% interest, and 50% loan to value. Today, you can get them 1, 2 points, if that, sometimes, as an experienced person, and 7% interest, 7.99% interest rate. It's
right.
And we were still making money when it was 5 points, 15%, and we're making money at 2 points, 1 point, 2 points, and 7%. So it doesn't matter. As long as you really want to make the deal happen, you'll find it. That's what you focus on, right? So if you want to focus on that, it'll manifest. So if you want to focus on success, it'll manifest.
Right. Abundance.
I really believe. Yeah. I really
Totally
believe
agree.
that. Yeah.
So obviously you've had several mentors and you travel some pretty heavy duty circles these days. I'm curious, what's the best advice you've ever gotten and who gave it to you?
Ooh, that's a really good one. The first one I had already said about Carlton Sheets, about never do a deal where everybody doesn't benefit from the party. You've got to find the benefit to everybody in the parties that are you working with, right? If it doesn't work, don't do the deal. That was the first one. And the second one is when crowds are going somewhere, when everybody was investing in pre-foreclosures, get the hell out. Wherever they're going, you go. Yeah. The contrary, or is that what it was called?
Yeah, contrarian. Be the contrarian.
Yes. So I find that works in real estate when it's trendy and sexy and hot and all that. Big people are into big student housing, right? Now there's a big shift in student housing. So that was good advice by a father figure to me in my life. And he gave me good advice with that. That was probably the other one. And the third one is make sure you solve other people's problems. When you solve other people's problems, you solve yours. And I think that was great advice because oftentimes we're sitting with a distressed homeowner and we're thinking what we can get out of the deal. Stop thinking like that. Stop thinking about you. Think about them. And what can I do to help you? Because I have specialized knowledge. I've been given that gift because I've helped 1,000 homeowners go face foreclosure and figure out how to get them out of it safely or with as minimal damage. But when I help them, ultimately, it comes back to me in another way. Whether I modify their loan and they get to stay in their home, and it's good karma. And then the next day I get a call and says, hey, I'm losing my house. I just want $50,000. Just pay me that next week and I'll be out of it. That's the good karma that comes around. So focus on solving other people's problems and it'll by nature solve yours. Don't worry about your problems.
Right. Zig Ziglar, the sales trainer, always used to say, if you help enough people get where they want to go, eventually they'll help you get where you want to go. Right. Yep. And that's so true.
That is very true. But yeah, those would be my 3 things that I would say.
Okay. So in terms of other ways to get mentorship, we talk about listening to podcasts and reading online and YouTube videos and books, right? I'm a big book hound, former liberal arts English major, right? And so I like to read. What is the most impactful real estate book you've ever read?
Well, the first one, which is, I call it the Bible in our industry, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep, it is the Bible.
Right? I call that the Bible because no one explains to you in school how money works and what the object of money is. That you want to get the passive income. You have to have more passive income than you have expenses. Once you do that, your problems are solved with that piece of it, right? You have that peace of mind. So that was the first one that really was a big one. The other one that's a huge one for me is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. That book changed my life in lots and lots and lots of ways. 66 chapters, small chapters. I like that he writes like no more than 5 or 6 pages. I completed 4 chapters in the night. Right. I love that book. That was a big change for me. So, and I teach those principles now. He wound up becoming my mentor. So
Did he really?
Yeah, I go to him. Well, before COVID, I would go to him 2 or 3 times a year. I went to his house. I met his wife. I met his family. And yeah, he's a masterful teacher. It was important to me to be a good mentor. He is a masterful teacher with 50 years of experience in it and just really dynamic. And he taught me the law of attraction really well. He was in the book and the movie, The Secret. Yeah. So, and he's one of the best public speakers I've ever met by far. He's got a unique style. So, and he's Chicken Soup for the Soul. He wrote that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he sold it for $66 million.
Good on him. I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. You know what's interesting? You talk about mentors, and I hear this a lot, and I'm trying to find this quote in my book as we're talking, but I cracks me up that, like, so I went to him because, let's face it, I've always wanted to write a book, but that wasn't really why I went to him. He was good at breakthroughs, emotional breakthroughs, financial breakthroughs. That's what he's known for, right? A success coach and that. But here's the thing. I followed a guy who sold his company for $66 million. I want to take advice from that guy because that's not where I'm at right now, right? I get a kick out of people who say, well, I don't want to do it because my brother-in-law said that. No, yeah, what does your brother-in-law do? Well, an accountant is, exactly, insurance broker, Okay, so he has a boss. What's his net worth? Oh, well, I don't know, so why would you take advice for somebody, financial advice, who's not in a better position than you are? I hate that people listen to financial advisors that are earning a paycheck. I have $2 million that I want to invest with you. And why should I invest it with you? What advice are you going to give me to grow that if you can't do it yourself? And that's the thing with mentors. So when they come to you guys, right now, you've got great because you got four of you guys, right? 4 diversities of experience, knowledge. I mean, combined, you probably have 100 years of experience between all of you guys.
Hey. No babies.
But you all have at least 20 years in this industry, right? Well, 80. Okay, sorry. 80. Yeah. But that's a wealth of knowledge. And then when you combined your net worth, I mean, I know you've had apartment buildings. I know you're in fix and flips, Rich. I'm getting to know you, so I'll figure that out. But that's all.
He owns all of it.
I know. That's what I secretly heard. So I wasn't sure. But I hear he's the quiet one.
Yes, he is.
But the deadly one, because you know everybody, right? The mayor.
Rich reminds me of Barry Sanders, the football player. So Barry, arguably one of the top 2 or 3 running backs in the history of the NFL, right? And you'd think he would be the one that would toot his own horn. You know what he did when he scored a touchdown? He ran over to the ref, handed him the ball, and went back into the huddle. That's it. That was the way Barry celebrated. That's Rich Brown too. Rich will score the winning touchdown. And by the way, I just closed on a 12 unit. What? Why didn't you tell me about this?
My joy is seeing other people score. So when I see a student score a building, close a deal, when I see someone figure out the magic of a burr, When I see someone who's never done a deal and do a wholesale and they get that little check, man, that feeds my ego like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
So that's really gets me going, is seeing people figure out that this world that we're introducing them to can really work for them and their families.
Yeah.
When you see the light bulb go off, whether that's a win or they get it, right? It feeds your soul.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no other way I can describe it. It's an amazing feeling to see somebody realize that they have potential beyond where they sit today. Right. And the light bulb went off and they now know how to get there.
Yeah.
That's a good day.
I really got to find this quote because it was so powerful. And it's like what you said, because that's the joy. You solve somebody else's problem, right? When they figured out that they bought their one apartment building and then that will pay for their vacation for their family once a year, that they can go away and they don't have to take money out of their savings or take it out of their paycheck. That's a game changer because you just change the quality of that family's life forever, not just for a day, not for another. Damn it, I wish I could find this quote. It was a Brian Buffini quote, and it was saying what a mentor, a coach, and a consultant, what the difference between them was. And it was interesting, like a mentor is a transfer of knowledge, of experience. Skills, coaching is a transfer of experience. That's why I want to find it. But it was so powerful because that's what you're doing. You're transferring your experience as a mentor to them to shorten the learning curve, right? Like Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues, right? That's the truth.
Totally. Right.
Right. What took me 10 years, I can teach people what my 10 years of experience in 1 year. You got 9 other years on me than what I had to go through, right? Or when my apartment building went down and caught on fire and I didn't have the right insurance, I got a $400,000 judgment on me. That sucked. Right. I drilled that into every student. Make sure this insurance is this, and this.
Right.
Learning lessons. Those are things I can pass down and save them a lot of money. We also often hear it too, when people say about coaching, that coaching is expensive. And I say ignorance is twice as expensive because,
so true.
Right? If you had to learn this on your own, it's 3 times as long and much more costlier than paying for a mentor to teach you. So,
and to your point about the insurance piece, right? Like when you made that mistake, learn that expensive lesson, and now you're drilling that into your students. As a student, the one thing I know is I just saved $400,000 when I get my apartment building.
Right.
Because I know that Melissa said I need to make sure I have these things. So Mr. or Mrs. Insurance Broker, are these things covered?
Yeah.
And to that, I have just saved or made $400,000.
$400,000.
I think you're absolutely right as you say that.
It's so true. And I know, like, when I've heard you guys speak, and all of you guys are really great speakers and good content. And even with Mark, he teaches people how to manage their books right. So it saves them so much time later when you've got to have audits done, or look at the PPP loans, right? You had to have your numbers in immediately, SBA money immediately. If you had access to your numbers, you're not fumbling or you didn't do your taxes right, you missed out on that money. That's a lot of money right now, right?
Right.
So these businesses are getting up to $500,000. What could that do for your real estate portfolio right now?
Right.
I could talk all day to you guys. You know that, right?
Yeah, and vice versa.
And we, unfortunately, we're coming to a close.
Yeah.
But man, this has been absolutely fascinating. We're going to have to bring you back for a round 2.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I got to have you guys on our podcast too. I'm not as a good host. I'm better as an interviewee, but
Melissa,
we'll get you on there.
We talked about women modest, and so I'm not buying it.
I don't buy that for a second.
Ed and I will probably have to research and study for like 6 months before we can come on your podcast because of that.
Little beads of sweat on my forehead half an hour before I get on, because I'm like, oh my God, I've got to answer all these questions. She's going to ask me 5 questions and my answer can't be, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
Hey, so Melissa, this has been really fun. And as always, it's amazing and wonderful to speak with you. I learn something every time I talk with you. If someone wants to get in touch with you to join your mentoring program or to pick your brain or to come work for you or whatever, what's the best way to get in touch?
So the best way is to go to our website at lireia.com. We are looking for really good realtors in the Connecticut area. What we're looking for is, because of our relationship with you guys, right? We want to help grow Connecticut. My prediction, and it's one of the things we're going to talk about at the event on December 9th, is the trend is getting away from wholesaling, right? And I found that when you had your license and acted as a wholesaler or investor, there were a lot more benefits to it because 5 states have banned it, 11 are in the process. The trend is going there. We need to look at that. They're holding real estate agents more of a professional. But here's what's also missing is good agents to work with investors. There's a disconnect there. Agents are so in the retail world that they don't understand the wholesale world. And I believe that people can use their license to help investors find deals more efficiently. So that's one of the ways that we're doing it. We're going to do it through some education with you guys, training them how to look for deals, using your mentoring students and those members that are interested. So yeah, if you're interested, please look us up on lireia.com and shoot us an email or feel free to call our office.
Or come to the event on December 9th.
That's even better. I like that idea. December 9th, come join us and I'll be there so you can talk to me personally. And I'll have some of my staff there as well. And everybody from CT REIA. It'll be awesome.
Melissa Shea, thank you. It's, like I said, always a pleasure and always enlightening. You are amazing and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
You guys are too. Thank you so much, Rich. I'm really looking forward to learning more about you. And I know you're quiet, so I'm going to figure you out a little bit. Ed, always a blessing and a pleasure, really.
Likewise. Likewise.
And same thing to Ron. And for anybody who's listening here, you've got a really great group here. You got to embrace that. I travel the country and I go to other REIAs and they're just not as astute to helping their members. So I thank you guys, and I really appreciate our relationship. 14 years is a long time.
It is a long time and we're grateful. So Thank you. This has been the Real Estate Underground Podcast, a CT REIA presentation. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. If there's a specific topic you want us to cover, post it in the comments. For more information on the Real Estate Underground Podcast or CT REIA, go to realestateundergroundpodcast.com or ctrea.com. Until next time, happy investing.